As the dawn of another year comes above the horizon, the skies of Liyue are illuminated once again for the legendary Liyue Lantern Rite, the Nation of Contracts holiday dedicated to welcoming the new year. As we all know, this holiday draws heavy inspiration from the Lunar New Year, a real-life holiday originating in China but also celebrated across other East Asian countries. But beyond filling the skies with beautiful lanterns, the Liyue Lantern Rite also exhibits many other cultural practices observed during Lunar New Year, some of which are unique to specific regional cultures in China. So in this video, I'm here to explain the true Chinese origins behind the Lantern Rite's many traditions, which includes shedding light on how the game uses both its characters and story writing to represent the values of this amazing culture in the best way possible. From analyzing the real-life history of lantern ceremonies, cultural roots of the celebration's performances, spiritual beliefs surrounding the Adepti, and even traditional foods and familial practices of the holiday. A ton of cultural references will be made in the video, especially since I'll be covering practices from both the current and previous Lantern Rites. So feel free to use the timestamps in the description if you would like to skip to a specific part. With all that being said, I wish you all a happy Lantern Rite. Xin Yan Kuai Le, and Sun Li Fai Le. Liyue's culture is known all across Tibet for their high-spirited performing arts, many of which are featured especially in the Lantern Rite festivities. So now, let's take the time to analyze the real Chinese origins of the two major performing arts featured in the Liyue Lantern Rite. These are Gaming's Cantonese wushou dance and Yunjin's Mandarin opera. First, let's start with Gaming's performance, as his spotlight truly made him feel like the main character of this year's Lantern Rite. His fiery wushou dance that lit up Liyue Harbor actually doesn't come from this part of Liyue. You see, most of Liyue, including its capital city, was inspired by parts of China that speak Mandarin. However, both Gaming and the wushou dance come from Chenyu Vale, the region of Liyue based on the Chinese regions that speak Cantonese. This detail in Liyue's world design may be a callback to how his wushou dance was inspired by the real Cantonese lion dance, also known as the Chinese Southern Lion Dance. You see, many variations of this dance are performed all around China, but the one we see in the Lantern Rite is extremely accurate in representing its Cantonese version, as Gaming's constellation, Awakened Lion, is a direct translation of its Cantonese counterpart. But you may be wondering, how are the origins of this dance similar? Like most Lunar New Year traditions, loud activities such as the lion dance are performed to scare off evil spirits, like the Nian. Likewise in Liyue, Gaming's dance is based on the Swanyi, a creature whose image is placed all over Liyue to also ward off evil spirits. When it comes to the training of the dancers themselves, wushou dancers such as Gaming also practice kung fu on a regular basis.
Whew, just finished my kung fu practice. Now I'm about to go for dim sum. You want to join?
This is because certain styles of the real Cantonese lion dance also incorporate Chinese martial arts such as kung fu. Some examples include Foshan and Jiao Ga, because the martial arts moves help make the dancer more agile, therefore producing a much more energetic and lively dance, especially when they jump between narrow stilts, a stunt also replicated in Gaming's fighting style. Speaking of this fighting style, you could also see that he likes to grab his claymore with the mouth of his lion. This is a reference to how lion dances often feature the lion grabbing certain items such as food with its mouth, often as a way to feed the lion between dances or as a sign of good luck when it spits something back at the audience. But perhaps the icing on the cake that makes Gaming's wushou dance so special has to be its symbolism. You see, the lions are more than just costumes, they're characters, and their unique personalities are often distinguished by their color. Gaming's lion is black, and black Cantonese lions are said to be the youngest and most energetic, and often embody the spirit of a headstrong teenager. This connects to the extreme vigor behind Gaming's dance, as well as his personality as a stubborn yet determined young man that matches the original character of the Black Dragon, a personality trait that perfectly fits Gaming as he tries to prove himself to both his father and the rest of Liyue. Now, let's move on to Yunjin, Liyue's star opera singer, and also Gaming's personal idol.
Yunjin's a huge inspiration to me. Everyone agrees that she's a fantastic singer, from the experts to the casual listener. Incredible. If the mighty mythical beasts ever get half as successful as the Yunhan opera troupe, Don't pinch me, because I don't want to wake up.
I swear, he gives off K-pop stan vibes. Or would it be C-pop, since they're Chinese? Anyways, her performance stole the spotlight of the 2.4 interlude quest released right before the 2022 Lantern Rite. This is because her style was based on the Peking opera, also known as Shichu. While Gaming's performance is originally Cantonese, Yunjin's is sung in traditional Mandarin. So, what parts of her performance truly make her style authentic to the real Chinese art? First has to be storytelling. Most plays and musicals are done to dramatize tales of the past, and this is present in Liyue's style of opera. Just like how Peking opera tells stories about legendary tales from Chinese folklore, most of Liyue opera includes epics that recount stories of the immortal Adepti saving Liyue. However, in recent times, Peking-style opera has tried to modernize its storytelling. In order to make its stories more meaningful to the common man, many modern Peking operas focus on the struggles of normal people, rather than tales of mythical beasts and grand battles. This motive behind the modernization of the genre is also found in Yunjin's inspiration to become an opera singer.
Many of Liyue's legends are centered around stories of gods and the Adepti, so most operas focus on the supernatural too. But in this age of humanity, I would rather like to tell stories about ordinary people.
You could say that her dream does come true during her performance of Shenhe's tale, as Shenhe is not an Adeptus, but rather a human just like the rest of Liyue. As for her actual performances, Yunjin's playstyle and plays borrow from many parts of Peking opera. This includes her design as a character, besides stretching her vocals the same way a traditional opera does. Her props and outfit are authentic to what real Shichu performers wear. Her headdress, although it looks like a dango, was based on the Fengguan crown worn to depict high officials in plays, while the Feiyun flags produced on her back during the elemental skills also serve the same purpose on stage. In addition to these, Yunjin's combat primarily focuses on the polearm, or spear. This may be taken from the fight scenes often depicted in Beijing-style opera, especially with the action of spear kicking and spinning. Chinese culture is known across the world for its legendary and diverse cuisine. However, certain dishes are especially prepared for the Lunar New Year. As it turns out, those celebratory dishes are actually present in Liyue's gastronomy. So let's tour both the street vendors and restaurants of Liyue to find them all. If we go under the Lantern Rite section of Liyue's menu, the majority of these special dishes exhibit characteristics unique to food eaten during Lunar New Year. Plates like these special noodles with mountain delicacies represent the Chinese practice of eating long, uncut noodles for the Lunar New Year, as it goes in line with the theme of long life. Meanwhile, round delicacies, like the Lantern Rite fried radish balls, match the Chinese value of eating round objects to represent unity. Other foods are eaten for good luck due to their phonetic similarities to other things that bring good luck. Lantern Rite specials, like tigerfish, represent the practice of eating fish in some Chinese regions for Lunar New Year, as the Chinese word for fish, yu, sounds like you, which means extra, a word associated with good luck in Mandarin. This is the same reason why Mandarin oranges are also eaten during this time of year. Speaking of fish, another Lantern Rite dish based on a Lunar New Year delicacy is Bountiful Year, a raw fish sashimi dish based on yu sheng, eaten by Chinese Malaysians and Singaporeans during the 7th day of Lunar New Year, called renri. Turnip cakes are also found on the tables of Xingyue Kiosk and Liyue Pavilion. This is a dish traditionally eaten in both Lunar New Year feasts and part of dim sum. It is usually served with tea in a Cantonese practice known as yum cha, a southern Chinese meal also observed by Cantonese characters such as ga ming.
When you go for the tea but stay for the dim sum, we call that yum cha. What you want to do is get some sweet dim sum and some savory dim sum, gotta make it a balanced meal, and order a mix of ready-made dim sum and made-to-order dim sum so that you can snack on dim sum while you're waiting on your other dim sum.
It's also important to know that these foods are shared in traditional Lunar New Year feasts. Chinese families often gather with both relatives and friends for a meal on the eve of Lunar New Year. This practice is also seen among the population of Liyue, especially on the eve of the firework and lantern ceremonies. Whether it's the staff operating Wangshu Inn, Madame Ping's adoptive children, or the Adepti meeting up with the friends that they consider to be family. This feast is often accompanied by a communal hot pot soup, a shared dish eaten to signify the reunification of family during the New Year season. Chinese folk religions played a huge part in shaping Liyue's customs, especially the ones practiced during the Liyue Lantern Rite. Some of these include incense and food offerings to both ancestors and even gods. So, let's take a look at the cultural and historical origins of the New Year offerings shared by both Chinese and Liyuean culture. First, let's talk about incense offerings. The people of Liyue could be found offering incense to both gods and ancestors during the Lantern Rite festivities. During the 3.4 Lantern Rite quest, our friends even argue over who gets the honor of lighting the year's first incense. In Chinese culture, incense is lit during the New Year as part of a wide range of practices belonging to Feng Shui. By burning these sticks, negative energy is cast away from the area, allowing prayers to be made to both gods and ancestors, which is why we see incense placed at temples belonging to Adepti like Prevasis, or in the dining rooms of friendly gatherings to ensure that all of them receive blessings for the new year. As for food, these items are also offered to gods and ancestors during the new year. In a Chinese practice known as Qingming, graves are cleaned and filled with food and other items that the deceased friend or family member loved when they were still alive. This practice is also performed by the people of Liyue. As during the 2.4 Lantern Rite, food and drink was placed on the grave of Ajdaha, presumably by his old friend Zhongli. As for offerings to the gods, this tradition, done to bring blessings to the family, is also performed by Liyuean pilgrims. Just like how food is placed at the altars of gods during Chinese New Year, food was also placed on Cloud Retainer's table in order to summon the Adeptus' presence. When it comes to Taoists and Buddhists, they also believe that gods go back to heaven to report the condition of their family to the higher gods. In order to make sure those gods give a good report on their family, sweet foods are often offered to the deities, like the kitchen god, in order to sort of bribe them into saying good things about their family. Likewise in Liyue, the kitchen god is replaced by the stove god, Guoba, and just like the kitchen god, Guoba could also be easily bribed by sweet food, which is how he befriended Shangling when she unintentionally left cornbread at his altar all those years ago. While we're on the topic of religious beliefs, let's take this opportunity to talk about this next part of Lunar New Year. The lore of Liyue has always focused on two worlds, the mortal realm of humans and the immortal realm of the Adepti, the legendary beings based on the ones found in Chinese folklore. However, most of Liyue's major story quests focus on moments where these two worlds collide. This includes the annual Lantern Rite. So, let's take a look at how the Lantern Rite traditions surrounding the Adepti were inspired by real Lunar New Year beliefs concerning Chinese beasts and spirits. The first one has to be the roles both of them play. You see, a major belief in Chinese New Year is that evil spirits come to attack people during this season. So, the majority of this holiday's practices are done to ward them off, from making loud noises with firecrackers and fireworks, to giving each other money, and even the prevalence of the color red. Just like in China, Liyue also has an uptick in evil spirits during the Lantern Rite season. So, it's up to Adepti like Xiao, the last Yaksha, to protect people during this event, which is why his character's first official run was during the Lunar New Year season of 2021, and why he seems to work overtime as a guardian Yaksha during the increase of malicious spirits during each Lantern Rite. Speaking of Yakshas and the Adepti, each Lantern Rite also has an Adeptus serving as the year's mascot, such as this year being the Yaksha Monogius, the previous year Sea Gazer, and even the very first event being Skybracer. The theme of having an Adeptal mascot for every Lantern Rite could be a callback to how each Lunar New Year is associated with a zodiac animal, like last year being Year of the Rabbit, or this year being Year of the Dragon. Lantern Rite's vibrant atmosphere is a crucial part in making this holiday feel so enchanting. Each year, a myriad of colorful fireworks and decorations illuminate every corner of Liyue, from the skies to the streets below. However, it's important to know both the historical and cultural origins of these decorations, as well as the significance each of them hold in the real Chinese New Year. You see, most of the material decorations of Lunar New Year are placed to ward off evil spirits and grant good luck, which is why characters during this time of year always seem to use the word auspicious. So, let's see what evil dispelling Chinese practices could also be found in the streets of Liyue. First, let's talk about fireworks. During the 2.4 Lantern Rite quest, Ningguang tells us that gunpowder and fireworks are originally Liyuean inventions, similar to how Tang Dynasty China was the first nation to also use gunpowder and fireworks in real life. Explosive items like fireworks and firecrackers hanging on the streets of Liyue Harbor and Yilong Wharf are set off to emit loud sounds that could scare off evil spirits. Similar to how our Jiaoko lanterns in the West were originally carved to dispel evil, the explosions and noise produced by fireworks and crackers perform the same task in Eastern beliefs. However, what makes the 4.4 Lantern Rite unique is its theme surrounding kites, another decoration that is extremely important to the Lunar New Year. Not only were kites used to symbolically represent Gaming's character, but their importance in Liyue is also based on their importance in China. During the Qingming grave cleaning festival that I mentioned earlier, kites are often treated as a pastime during this day. Contrary to Western perception, these are more than just toys, and actually carry a symbolic importance in this culture. In both Liyue and China, kites are flown and released to symbolize good luck and freedom for the new year. Oftentimes, different kites also represent different values in Chinese culture, which is replicated in the meaning behind different kites in Liyue, such as the Jade Chamber and various animals. Right below the kites, celebrants in Liyue will also come across a plethora of umbrellas that represent wealth and Chinese nodding that also wards off evil spirits. But beyond the rows of gift boxes, stalls, firecrackers, screens, and lanterns that fill Liyue's many corridors, one thing is shared between all of them. They are all red and yellow. These two colors are seen as the most important symbols of this culture. On the surface, putting up decorations with these colors, or wearing it, is used to bring good luck and dispel evil spirits, like all the other decorations in Liyue. But the origins of these colors are more important than you think. Red and yellow come from the Chinese 5 elements theory, with red denoting fire, and the accents of yellow representing earth. This is especially fitting for Liyue, as the yellow Chinese decorations that represent earth also connect to Liyue's status as the nation of Geo. The core of the Lantern Rite Festival has to be its legendary lanterns, as the skies of Liyue Harbor are yet again filled with these beautiful floating gems. It's important to know where this tradition exactly comes from in Chinese culture. First, let's discuss their similar histories. During the Archon War that ravaged both Liyue and Teyvat, it was said that the sky lanterns were used to signal positions to soldiers and ultimately help them find a way back home. Meanwhile, in Chinese history, lanterns were also used by the Eastern Han Dynasty to help them send signals to soldiers during the many battles that took place in the Three Kingdoms period. But as for the actual practice of making them float into the sky, both the Chinese and the Liyuean lanterns share familiar roots. You see, the lantern festivals held on the 15th day and final night of Lunar New Year can symbolize different themes. By letting these lanterns go into the sky, this practice represents letting go of your past self of the previous year and welcoming your new self for the new year. Every year, it is believed that the person you are right now always changes. So, letting your previous versions go and welcoming newer ones is a practice that is symbolized annually by these parting lanterns. This very idea of constantly letting go of past selves in order to become your new self could be represented through Shenhe. Though Shenhe lacks a personal story quest, her recurring appearance in every Lantern Rite does match the symbolic importance of letting oneself go during the Chinese Lantern Festival. This is because most of her character development surrounds the idea of change. During the 2.4 Lantern Rite, she lets go of her past self as an outcast as she is welcomed back into human society as a normal person after years of living among the Adepti. But during the 3.4 and 4.4 Lantern Rites, she lets go of her previous status as an average city dweller and welcomes a new balanced state where she is both a respected member of human society but still part of her new Adeptus family. In addition to letting go, another value that the Sky Lanterns represent is family reunion. During the Lunar New Year, Round shapes, such as the ones found in lanterns, are often used to depict wholeness and unity, specifically between family members. This is especially symbolized when the myriad of lanterns from the ground unite as one in the sky. This theme of family reunion could be seen in almost every Lantern Rite event. Since this value is so important, let's use the last part of this video to talk about this theme. Throughout Liyue's many quests related to the Lantern Rite, you may have noticed that the theme of family has always been a recurring subject in each story. But why is this so? During the real Lunar New Year, the importance of family has always been a constant theme. After all, Chinese culture has often been remembered as a collectivist culture, meaning that harmony between family members has always been emphasized as a major part of life, especially through ancient religions and philosophies like Confucianism and Taoism. Throughout this video, you may have noticed that Lunar New Year celebrations are divided into different days, and though family is an important part of each day, a very specific practice on the second day of Lunar New Year takes its spotlight in almost every Lantern Rite quest. The second day of New Year always focuses on renewing family ties, with one example being daughters who return home to visit their immediate relatives. This theme of family reunions is present not only in this year's Lantern Rite, but also in the previous years. Let's start with the prime example of this theme, which is through Gaming. During the quest, the Glede returns to the pavilion. We learn that Gaming's relationship with his father worsened after their separate wishes for his future clashed, driving him to run away from home. However, thanks to a plan hatched by Xianyun, Gaming is able to reconcile with his dad after years of separation and bitter thoughts, finally giving him a chance to both prove his independence to his father, but most importantly, welcome him as his family once again. This theme of the Adepti, such as Xianyun helping Gaming re-establish ties with his family, could be inspired by the Chinese belief of the gods who the Adepti were based on, granting good fortune to the families during this season, allowing time for separated family members to unite once again. But speaking of Xianyun, her and her apprentices also coincide with the Lunar New Year theme of family reunion. As a crane and motherly figure, Xianyun has always enjoyed taking an apprentice under her wing. At Mount Aotsung, after each one grew big enough to fly away from her nest, the loneliness she experienced drove her to move closer to the city, where her two most recent disciples lived, allowing her to live closer with the two people she could truly refer to as her daughters, just like how families reunite with distant relatives in the new year. But as I mentioned earlier, Shenhe's recurring presence in each year's Lantern Rite allows the game's writers to use her developing character to convey the values of this holiday. While characters like Gaming reunite with pre-existing family, Shenhe is blessed with a new family during the Lantern Rite season. Because she was deprived from spending time with her real parents, this season granted her with memories made with a new family, a loyal one that refuses to abandon her in spite of the absence of any biological relation. Her blessings include a mother figure through Xianyun and a big sister through Ganyu. Other Adepti are also seen reuniting with family figures as well, such as Madame Ping watching the fireworks with her adoptive daughters Yanfei and Yao Yao, or Xiao and Hu Tao spending time with their father figure Zhongli. But speaking of Xianyun, her character quest that was released right before this year's Lantern Rite also conveys the Lunar New Year theme of family reunion. As we entered a dream during our nap on Mount Aotsung, we see the desire of her newest apprentice, Shu Yu, to reunite with her grandmother once again. Meanwhile, the traveler's dream outlined their deepest yearning ever since the beginning of their journey throughout Teyvat, the wish to reunite with their twin, the only family that the traveler seems to even have. Though this family reunion is confined within the artificial realm of a dream, it's still very heartwarming to see that Xianyun is willing to help us experience this Lunar New Year tradition when reality won't allow us to. Though bittersweet, the idea of letting the traveler partake in the Lantern Rite family reunion that they've been deprived of for so long is enough to make her one of the best mother figures in all of Liyue, perfectly embodying the Lunar New Year values of family and giving both the traveler and the children of Liyue the perfect Lantern Rite.